Test, test. Okay. Ooh. Yo. We live on TikTok. We live on YouTube. What up, Maddie? God bless, man. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I gotta check every time I go live now because sometimes the audio be tripping. What up? What's going on? If you just enter in the chat, say what's up, say hi, like up the live, share the live. Can y'all hear me? What up? What up, Mitch? Can y'all hear me properly? Okay, cool. I don't know what it is like on YouTube right now. I guess I could check. Hold on. So could check low key. See. Let me see. I'm gonna turn my mic down so I can check. Test, test, test.
Test, test, test.
All right, bet, word.
Test, test, test.
All right, bet, word.
Test, test, test.
All right, bet, word. Okay, we all good on YouTube. We all good on YouTube. Yeah, we are a little early. We're a little early today. Because I'm probably not gonna be live this weekend. So here early, getting it out the way. I'm sorry, not this weekend. I'm not gonna be live later. Is what I meant to say. I'm gonna be live this weekend. I'm not gonna be live later, so doing this early live, and see what it's about. See if we can get some opportunities. I might need to change my background. Let me see. Might change the background up. Let me see. Let me see. What up, only? Truth. Oh, because God of the Bible requires me to be in pain during childbirth. Okay. Too many doctrines and gods. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about with that. What up, Jackie? Good morning. Have you debated Neo Trigger? Yeah, he's afraid to debate me. He's afraid to formally debate me. He spazzes out every time he tries to come at me because he doesn't have any actual control of an adult. So, you know, he deludes himself into thinking that he does things effectively. And we too early. Let's like the live, y'all. Let's like the live, y'all. Let's get this. Let's get it pushed out, and moved out. Yeah, Neo is a heretic for sure. 100%. That is without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thank you for the gifts, Manny. I gotta keep track of that easier. Um, so as we're waiting for some ops, I don't know if y'all like follow me around TikTok, like when I'm like in other people's lives and stuff like that. But I was in a live where some Protestants were bringing up some Catholic Marian prayers, and though the Catholics were defending themselves, right, and I was just there, as an Eastern Orthodox gang, you know, uh, just providing clarity, articulating clarities. Uh, I also did some research. Yeah, he did say that. He did say that Mary can sustain creation. I did some research, right? And there's an argument. I have an argument. It's a little bit in development. I have an argument that it could punch a real major hole in the Latin in the Latins whole, like their whole spiel, because and it has to do with that saint, with that saint that they deem a saint. Now, because I have no malice, I'm gonna keep it in my back pocket. But it's so I was talking to another friend about it. It's I'd be interested in having a conversation about it. But if their metaphysics about God's essence is what I believe it is, and they hold or they can affirm that Mary is omnipotent by grace, nah, 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 man, that ain't looking too good. That ain't looking too good at all. Okay, let's.
Hello.
What up?
There's like an echo going on.
Still echo?
Yeah, there's still an echo. Because your mic is kind of low.
My mic is low?
Yeah.
All right, what about now?
Okay, the mic is better, but the echo's still there. It's fine. I can handle it, I think.
I'll turn
So-
down. Yeah, Jackie, we'll talk about it after this guest. What up? What's up, man?
Yeah, I think the Trinity is like incoherent. So it's like 3 persons and 1 God, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So do you take God to be like a category?
God is a description of nature.
The description of nature. What is I don't understand what does that mean.
Like human is a description of nature. God is a
Oh,
description of nature.
The description of their nature. Okay. So it is these 3 different persons' nature to be God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So it is the case that like Jesus is God or a God. The Holy Spirit is God and the Father is God.
They are the same God.
Okay. So they all hold with these three people.
These 3 persons,
hold the
people
nature.
refers to a human group. They're not people. They're 3 distinct persons.
Okay, these three persons, sure.
Mm-hmm.
They hold the nature of God.
The divine essence subsists within the persons, correct.
Okay, and they aren't each other.
They are distinguished from one another due to their relation of origins.
What does that mean?
Means that the Father is unbegotten in his hypostatic as a hypostatic property. The Son is begotten, which is hypostatic property, and the Spirit is spirated, which is a hypostatic property. This is what we call idiomata or particulars that distinguish the persons from one another.
Okay, this sounds like a rejection of things being static, or the
You said
they
what?
reject the simplicity at the very least. It seems like God has three parts.
No,
Like
no, it wouldn't be three
okay,
parts
okay.
because the divine essence is divinely simple and undivided. Therefore, it can't be any parts because each of the persons are truly and wholly God, since the essence is not bound by space or time or matter.
Okay, I have a question. In order for this nature, this God nature, to exist, does Jesus have to be there?
In order for the nature to be there,
Yeah, in order for this divine nature, this God nature to exist, does Jesus have to be there?
yes, because the Father is where the essence subsists in, and if the Father's there, then necessarily the Son is there because the Father and the Son are intrinsic to one another.
So God is dependent on Jesus, on one of his parts.
Jesus is God. Is God dependent on God? What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
God is dependent on God.
Why? What is the God is dependent on himself? Yeah. What's the issue with that?
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. It's
Okay.
God is
Why? Wait. Hold on. Why is it ridiculous for God to be dependent on himself? Who else would God be dependent on? Hold on. Who else would God be dependent on if not himself?
I think he'd be dependent on nothing because he's God. He's necessary.
If he's dependent on only himself, then he would be dependent on nothing.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
Yes, because everything else will be external to himself. For God to be self-sufficient, it means he's sufficient in and of himself. If he's dependent, it means that it's something external to himself that will make him dependent.
Okay, so there's a problem here because so Jesus is like so Jesus is God, and Jesus needs to be there for this God nature to exist.
Hold on 1 second. Hey guys, am I lagging? Is my sound cutting out?
It's like kind of bad.
I'm lagging. Hold on 1 second. Lagging and breaking up. It's not the live, it's the audio. What? I might have to restart the live, guys.
Okay.
I may have to restart. If it doesn't clear up in like 60 seconds, then I might have to restart the live, guys.
It sounds fine right now.
Yeah, for you. I'm talking about the audience. So. Okay, is it still lagging off, guys? Mic is choppy. Guest is fine. Mic is dead to my mouth. I don't understand. Okay. Did that just happen when he came in, or was it always there from the jump, from the start of the live, guys? It was always there. It's good now, for real. Okay, apparently it's good now. All right. Okay. So go ahead and continue.
Yeah. So I was saying that like it is the case that this God nature is dependent on Jesus.
It's
So,
not that it's dependent on Jesus. The nature is you said yeah, because it's intrinsic to him. There's a difference between intrinsicness and dependency. Intrinsic is something that naturally belongs. It's not a dependency. If it naturally belongs to me. If it naturally belongs to me, then it wouldn't be here without me. That's not dependency. It's mine. It's of me.
Okay. So okay. This just it doesn't make sense to say these three persons are God, right? And then they're also like not each other. And here's the problem. It's because he like the Father is God. is like one God, and then Jesus is also one God.
Jesus is the same God as the Father because he's the very
So
word.
Jesus is God. So Jesus is the Father.
He's the word of the Father.
Jesus
He
is Word.
he oh my God, bro. You might be cooked. Okay, I will say it slower for you, okay? Jesus is God because he's the word of the Father. He's the Son of the Father. He's begotten from the Father. He's the same in quiddity as the Father because he's begotten from the Father.
Okay, so Jesus wouldn't exist without the Father.
They are intrinsic to one another.
So they're the same. Like they're the same.
They're the same in essence. They're the same deity. They're the
Okay,
same
so
God.
Jesus is the Father. If they're the same
Oh
in
my
essence.
God. Oh my God, bro. Are you okay? Are you all right?
Yeah, you're saying
Okay,
Jesus
already,
is
already.
the Father.
Are Adam and Eve the same in essence?
No,
Is Adam Eve?
no.
Then shut up. What are you talking
You
about?
just said they're the same in
Wait. Hold on. You don't think Adam and Eve are the same in essence?
No, they're like two distinct people.
So Eve isn't human.
They're both human. I don't think like
Then they're the same in essence.
what?
Oh,
Okay,
you're an
okay,
idiot.
so
You're
who's
you're
this
dumb.
talking about?
You're an idiot.
Because when I
No,
answer
it's
that,
like you're just an idiot. Okay. So do you know what essence
I
is?
think essence to be is what something is.
What something is. Exactly. What something
Yeah.
is. What is Eve? Is she human?
Eve is like a person, a woman.
No. I didn't say who. What is she? What she is
Yeah, she's like a
human.
person, she's a
Okay.
woman.
What she is human. That's her essence.
Well,
That's
we
her
can talk about other
whatness.
things too.
We're talking about her essence, her quiddity. What she is Adam or human. This is why Genesis 5:2, God calls her Adam, human. That's her essence. That's what she is. Same thing with Adam. That what he is human. They're the same in essence.
No, I reject this because
Oh,
there's, like,
I don't care. Then
this is, like,
what are you talking
there's a few
about,
other things. There's a few other things going on.
bruh?
In essence, in
Bro,
essence,
so
Eve is
so
a
so,
female.
so Eve is not human then.
In essence, Eve is female.
Is she human though?
They share like a part of their essence.
But
Yeah.
is she, bro? What are you talking about? Okay. Can you name something that's the same in essence?
The same. In
Okay, how about
essence.
this? How about this? Adam and Seth. How about this? Adam and Seth. Are Adam and Seth the same in essence?
No, they have different minds.
You don't know what essence is. You just
Yeah,
don't know.
do.
You just don't know what an essence
They
is,
do.
bro.
It's what something is. And
Okay,
part of it.
is what Adam is what Seth is human?
Yes.
Is what Adam is human?
Yes.
Then they're the same in their whatness. What they are is human.
Other things. There are a few other things that add.
Yeah, but what they are is human.
Sure, but there's like.
So then they're the same in essence because what they are is human.
They share like a part of their essence. Sure, but they
Okay,
do different
so then what they are is human. Therefore, all of the things that are intrinsic and necessary to make a human human, they share that. Do you agree or disagree?
Sure.
So then they're the same in essence. What is up with you? They have the same essence.
Do they have the same atoms?
What?
Do they have the same atoms?
They have human atoms. Yeah, bro. What are you talking about?
No, they don't have the same.
They
They're like,
I didn't say they have the same state of existence. You're being an idiot on purpose. I didn't say that they're the same being, but they have the same universal nature, which is their essence, which is humanity. And you're literally saying no.
That's like their species.
That's their essence. Oh, you're okay. Hey, how about you read a book? Just read a book. Yeah. Read a book. Go read, bro. Like, what is this? This man said, no, they're not the same in essence. All right, bud. He had to be trolling this one. Hi, I can't see you.
Oh, I didn't
No. I can't even see your profile, but it's okay. What's up? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm cool.
I don't know. I was getting a little aggravated because I just don't agree when people are speaking about God and trying to share God. Like the tone, the anger tone is like not the way because you can't prove your point. as far as you want to
Okay,
when you're coming off like with anger.
got it. Anything else?
I don't know, the way that you asked that was like kind of like pushing me away.
Yeah.
Did you feel some type of way from me saying that?
It doesn't have any bearing on me, is what I'm saying. But I am trying to.
At you at all. So this is what I was saying. I'm not trying to come at you at all. That's the whole point I was making.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
No problem. God bless. I, I hope that your goal was accomplished, Chrissy. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up? How can I help you?
Yeah, that's what I don't believe. I'm an unbeliever
A non-believer in what?
in anything, any religion.
So you're an atheist.
So I need what?
You're an atheist.
Yeah, I'm agnostic. I don't know.
Okay. Why are you agnostic?
Because I don't see any proof of any religion being wrong. No irrefutable evidence of anything.
Well, if God exists, then that leads you closer to a religion existing, right?
If I know God exists, then sure, yeah. If he came down and said, hey, I'm here, then yeah, I believe in him.
Is that the only manner in which God can exist? Is if he comes down and says, hey, yeah, I'm here?
He should provide irrefutable
I'm
evidence.
asking you specifically, is that the only means in which God can exist? Is if he comes down and says, hey, hell, here I am.
Yeah, there are the ways.
Oh, okay, cool. So
You need to provide irrefutable evidence.
Do you-
Like the sun exists, right? I can look up in the sky and see that.
Right.
I can't deny it.
right.
So
Do you
it's
do you
not-
do you
not
think that you can logically deduce God?
Maybe, I don't know. It depends.
Okay, let's
The way we have the Bible right now, no, you can't logically deduce it.
Okay, so before we get to any Bible or any holy book, we can logically deduce that the thing categorically called God necessarily exists. Would you like to run that or no?
Say that again.
Before we get to any Bible, any holy book, or anything along those matters, we can logically deduce that the thing categorically called God necessarily exists. Would you like to run that procedure or no?
Sure, let's go.
All right. Do you believe change exists?
Change?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So how we define change is that things go from potential to actual. So for example, a cup of water that's cold has the potential to be hot. Now, because something can't reduce itself down to actuality, a cup of water can't make itself hot. It would require something outside of itself to act upon it to actualize said potential. So if the cup of water has the potential to be hot, something that is already hot has to act upon said cup of water to make it hot. Do you agree or disagree with this?
No, I agree with that.
All right. So that means that the cup of water, this thing that has potential, is contingent. It depends on something outside of itself. Right? This fact applies to everything in reality that changes, that goes from potential to actual. Now, because let me turn up my audio again because people saying that my audio is low. I don't know why they're saying the audio is low, but it's okay. Because this variable, this fact of reality stands for all of everything in reality that changes, there now also requires Miney said I'm loud. Oh my god, let me turn it down a little bit. That now requires something that everything with potential terminates into, that they would derive their actuality from, and this thing would be purely actual. non-contingent, pure act, and a necessary being. Otherwise, we risk running to what's called infinite regress. And infinite regression can't actually exist because in that paradigm, all of the variables in an infinite regression have potential or start in potential. And as we just proved, nothing can reduce itself down to actuality. So in the infinite regression paradigm, nothing will ever actually be actualized. So that requires an uncaused first cause, an unmoved first mover that is purely actual, unchanged, and, and non-contingent. This necessary being categorically is what we would call God.
I don't know if I would call it God. They're external factors.
Categorically is what we would call God. If it's a necessary being that's non-contingent and purely actual, that is God by category.
Why can't we just say it's like the universe?
Because the universe changes, Mother Nature changes, so it doesn't fit the category of being that.
It just sounds like an excuse to make up something.
How is it an excuse if that's a fact of the universe? The universe does change. That's a fact.
That's true, yeah.
All right, then. So then it can't fit what we're talking about.
Why does what you described have to exist? I mean, everything.
I just explained to you why it has to exist. Did you not follow?
I did follow. but I'm
Okay.
just saying-
So why are you asking me why does it have to exist if my explanation shows why that necessary being has to exist?
But you're just all right. So if that for whatever needs to exist in that place, why is it like the Christian God? Why can't it be like some random?
Okay. So that's phase 2. Before we get to phase 2, though, do you concede on the fact that we've logically deduced that there is a necessary being of this caliber?
I don't know, man. I can't say that.
Okay.
It could be anything. That's why I'm agnostic, because I don't know. There's just so much we don't.
Okay. So now,
It's complicated.
so due to the principle of sufficient reasoning, there's now needs to be an explanation for these contingent things. So you purport what could be or fit the category of a necessary being that is purely actual, that all things derive their actualization from. You tell us what that could be.
I don't know. That's the thing.
Right.
Don't know, but I don't think we can make up. I don't think us as humans with human mind, human construct, can just make up some random.
We're not
entity and
we're not
say that
making it
it's-
up. We're not making it up. We're logically deducting it. This is called logical deductive reasoning. We're looking at what's happening in the world, showing that there are things that are factually contingent, and that things that are contingent get their actualization from something that's already actual. We've deduced this with our reasoning and observation. So therefore, since we see that something that has potential can't actualize itself, there has to be necessarily something that has no potential, that is purely actual, that things derive their actualization from. That categorically is what we would call God. You're saying no. Okay, well then you have to give another explanation.
I mean, there are external factors.
Like what?
So, for example, that water changing temperature, it could either be room temperature or you put it in the microwave and give it energy. I mean,
You literally you're proving my point. If the fact that the water can't make itself hot, but you need something outside of the water in order for it to actualize the potential for the water to be hot, proves my point.
I don't think it's that simple.
It's quite okay. It quite literally is. Water can't make itself. Can water make itself hot?
No, it can't make itself hot.
Do you need something outside of water to make water hot?
And temperature comes from other factors.
Right. Right.
A never-ending cycle.
And that's why, and that's an issue. It can't be a never-ending cycle because that's called an infinite regression. Infinite regress is logically impossible. Here's an example of how infinite regression is logically impossible. If I have an infinite amount of extension cords plugging into one another, but none of those extension cords ever plug into a wall, do you ever get electricity?
No.
Right. So an infinite regression can't logically exist because all of the variables in an infinite regression start in potential. And if there's nothing that is already actualized for them to derive their actualization from, then nothing in that paradigm is actually actualized. So it can't logically exist.
Okay. Like so you're saying that there can be a starting point. There can be something that can be explained to that. You know,
There
like,
has to be
we
a
can
starting
talk about
point.
astronomy. I mean, we could talk about astronomy and say that there's a Big Bang theory, right? So when the universe came from a singular point, it put everything in motion. You know, and then we don't really know what happened before that, or did time even exist before that? I mean, we could get that deep. I mean, you could talk to a scientist that or an astronomer that studies this. And there's a lot of astronomers that don't believe in God. You know, they have an explanation for.
Brother,
why
this
things
has
are,
nothing.
why
This has
things are.
nothing to do with my argument. I'm not even running a cosmological argument. I'm running the argument from motion. If things move, then something moves it. If things change, something changes it.
Right. But I'm saying you're saying it all comes from a singular point. Like there's
No,
something
no, I'm not
that
saying
is
that it all comes. I'm not saying that it all comes from a singular point.
not a
I'm
single
saying
point,
I'm
right?
saying it comes from a necessary being. Otherwise, you run into infinite regression, and I just explained how infinite regression is quite literally impossible. So this,
All right,
so
let's
this,
assume that.
so this necessary being, categorically, is what we would call God.
Okay.
So do you concede on that? So we can move to phase two.
Let's move to phase two. I don't concede on that. Let's
Oh, well, we can't move the we can't. Phase two is going to be nothing of importance if you don't understand phase one. You can't get
Yeah,
phase
but
one
it's not a
down.
matter of understanding. It's you're trying to explain. You're trying to say that this random being or this entity is responsible. You know, it could be anything. There could
Like
be
what?
something in this place that we don't know.
Like what?
We don't know, but it's not something that we
Okay.
made up
So what's in?
2,000 years ago.
Okay. So what's intellectually more honest? You going? Okay. All the variables point to this necessitates a necessary being, but because I don't want to say God, I'm gonna just say I don't know. Or being intellectually honest with the observations that are purported to you, and then saying, okay, based off of these facts of reality, this is the only other logical conclusion.
I'd rather say I don't know.
That's just intellectually. So if you're purposefully intellectually dishonest, then there's no point of me continuing to have a conversation of intellect with you if you're being intellectually dishonest with yourself.
No, that's intellectually honest.
No, you're not being intellectually honest. That's like saying, hey, there are a bunch of seeds. There are a bunch of seeds here, but because I don't see a tree, it's not a tree. Or because I don't see any plants, because I don't see any tree, these seeds, it could be anything that gave us these seeds. It could be anything.
No, I'm not saying that. You're saying that.
No, you're literally the one that just said, why do we have to say it's a necessary being? It could be anything. We just don't know. We just don't know. You're saying just because there's these seeds here, and even though we know based off of reality, seeds come from plants and trees, we can't say that there's a plant and tree that gave us these seeds. So what? That's literally what you're saying.
But we know it's a plant and a tree that gave us those seeds. That's the thing. You're saying that because there are these seeds here, there's a God. That's not.
If you see a seed on the ground, and there's no trees around, there's no plants around, where did the seed?
You know it came from somewhere.
Where did it come from?
It came from the tree or the plant because we know that there's evidence of that. We saw the seeds come out.
Exactly.
But you're
Exactly.
looks at the seeds on the ground and assume that it was God.
No, Goofy. If there are seeds on the ground on concrete, then I'm going to say that there necessarily needs to be plant underneath this concrete because seeds don't come from anywhere but plants. You're going to say, well, We ain't never seen underneath the concrete. So you're just purporting that there got to be a plant underneath the concrete. Like what? Yeah, there has to be plant underneath this concrete because seeds only come from plants based off of what we've logically deduced.
I get that, but we know that plants exist and that.
Oh my
seeds
God,
exist,
bro.
right?
It's called an analogy,
No,
brother.
no. No, I'm making a lot of sense. Here.
No, you're not. You're just you're
You see the seeds on the ground. You know they came from a plant because we know that the plant and the seed both exist, right? Your logic here is saying that because there are these seeds here, there must be a God. There must be a reason why these seeds exist, and you're
what I'm saying
these
is
exist because of God. That's
no.
why.
What I'm
That's
saying, what I'm saying
that the
is,
seeds are there. If we didn't know that plants
bro,
exist,
this man is stupid.
then these seeds are here. Then you can't just say that these seeds came from God. These seeds came from something.
No.
You can't prove it.
In this analogy, the tree would be God. You have to track with your brain, please. In the analogy, the seeds come from a source.
A source.
So in this analogy, the source would be God because of the evidence of said source. So in this analogy, correlating it, the fact that change exists and the things that are changed can't change itself, there needs to be a changer that isn't changed because infinite regression can't exist logically.
But we don't know what that is. You're
Categories. Now we go to categories, because if a changer necessarily exists because infinite regression is impossible, then by category, an unchanged changer, an unmoved mover, an uncaused first causer is by category what we would associate God to being. That is what we would associate God as. You can call it goobly goop. Like categorically, goobly goop is what we would call God.
it's something we don't know about. We don't know. But we don't.
Oh my God,
Like,
bro! This man
I
is,
won't say it's God.
bro. This man,
It's
brother.
God.
If you're God phobic, if you're theophobic, bro, that makes me know. Never mind. The point that I'm trying to get, the point that you have to be, you're literally scared of the word God. The point that I'm trying to show you is that the principle, the category, this thing that is necessary, that is uncaused, that is unchanging, that all potential things derive their actualization from, that thing necessarily exists. That's what I'm saying. That thing, you don't gotta call it God, bro. That's stupid because that's literally what it is. But that thing necessarily exists. That's my point.
Okay, there's a thing. Okay, there's a thing.
And it necessarily exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as we know, yeah.
Okay. This
I think things are. We could go with that, right? We could go with that, but I think it's far more complicated than that. There's a lot we don't know. It's not as simple as, like, for example, when the Big Bang happened. Like, people think that there's a before and after, but time didn't exist until after that Big Bang happened.
the
So I
fact
think it's as simple as cause and effect.
the fact that the Big Bang happened proves that there's a banger, because as we've shown, as a fact of all reality, nothing can reduce itself down to actualization if it has potential.
Some people say that there isn't. It just happened. Or
Okay,
it's more
yeah,
complicated.
you have to actually, just like you are so critical and skeptical about the existence of God, you have to be critical and skeptical about people saying anything. If all of reality shows that nothing with potential can reduce itself down to actuality, why are you special pleading for this one thing that is clearly shown to have potential?
Because you're just flat out saying that there's this entity that God.
I don't think you even understood my question. I don't think you understood my question.
No, I understand.
What was my question? What was my question?
What I'm saying is this.
What was my question?
question is, why am I believing this science that's put out in front of me if we don't know it?
It's not my question.
But
That
that's
wasn't
what you're
that
saying.
wasn't my
Right.
question. That's not what I'm asking.
That's generally what you're
It's
asking.
not what I'm asking. I'm telling you, as the person asking, it's not what I'm asking. Like what? It's not what I'm asking. I'm gonna say it again. Track this time, okay? I'm accusing you of being intellectually dishonest again. You rather say, I don't know, even though the variables and facts about everything else applies to this still one thing. So for everything else, you're saying, yeah, it does need something else. But for this thing that fits the same criteria as these things, you're going to say, I don't know. That's intellectually dishonest. Why are you doing that?
Because we don't know. I mean, I don't think you can compare the two. Like,
It's
they don't
it's
know.
literally the same thing.
Different.
Okay, hey, if a car needs to be revved up, if an engine needs to be revved up to run, why, if I give you the exact same engine, the very first engine, why do you now think that this very first engine does not need to be revved up to run if all the engines need to be revved up to run?
They need to be revved up front, sure.
Why this first engine though? Why does this first engine not need to be revved up to run? That's what you're saying. You're literally saying, I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, even though this is the same engine, the exact same engine as the rest of the engines, for this, we don't got. Why? I mean, you don't need to be revved up to run. Why not?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I don't think that's it. That's not a.
It is, because if you're saying that this engine, the first engine, does need to be revved up to run, then you need a revver. You need a thing to rev it up. So correlating this to the Big Bang, which is the first thing, right? You need a thing to bang it. You're saying, well, no, because we don't know. But everything else, if it's the same criteria of everything else that needs to be revved up to run, but for this, you're saying, nah.
No, I'm not saying that nothing is caused. I'm not saying that there isn't cause. You're trying to say that there's a cause and that cause is God. I'm saying there's a cause, but we don't know what it is. Just like the seeds on the ground, they come from a plant.
Do you think
we didn't know what a plant was? You're not. I'm gonna say I don't know where it came from, but it came from somewhere. You're saying it but we know there's a plant, right? We know that, but we don't know that there's a God. There's no irrefutable evidence that God exists.
there? You literally are unable to refute the evidence that I'm bringing you right now. Your quote unquote refutation is just That's literally a refutation. I'm bringing you irrefutable evidence right now.
You're saying
If
that
it's
something
moved,
is made up of the cause. I'm saying you don't know the cause.
no, yeah, I'm saying you, but you agree that it needs a cause. So you're self-defeating. So you're defeating yourself. You're defeating yourself. If it needs to cause, right? And unless you hold to infinite regression, then there needs to be eventually something that all these things terminate into. That's my point. There needs to be something that all of these quote unquote things that are caused terminate into.
Okay.
And that,
So let's say it is God. Now what?
okay, so that thing that they terminate into is what we call God. Now we move to phase 2. Why the Christian God? Well, this necessary being that is non-contingent, because it has to be non-contingent in order to be the necessary being. The Christian God is the only God that will fit the criteria to be said necessary being of self-sufficiency. Every other God would either be dependent or contingent on creation in order for it to be fully actual, that same God. So for example, all right, The Muslim God. The Muslim God has an intrinsic attribute called loving, al-wadud, most loving. Well, that Muslim God is a unipersonal God. Therefore, who does he love before creation? They would say no one. He can't love before creation. Therefore, he's now dependent upon creation in order to actualize said attribute of love, making him what's called passive potent or contingent, disqualifying him from being the necessary being of self-sufficiency that all things derive their existence from. Same thing with the modern Jewish God or any God that is unipersonal. Now, the Christian God is tripersonal. We believe in the Trinity. This God necessarily exists because this is the only God that can categorically be self-sufficient in and of itself. So things like love are shared between the persons. Nothing external to said God is it dependent on. So this God is the only God that fits the criteria of that necessary being that is self-sufficient.
Okay.
So that's why it points to the Christian God as the only God that can logically exist.
That's funny because a lot of people actually fight against that, especially like Jays and Muslims.
Yeah.
Don't believe in the Trinity.
Of course. Yeah, that's
my argument against that is I don't believe in it, but like there can be a Trinity because if God is this higher being so beyond our comprehension, why can't there be a Trinity?
he would have to be, is my argument. Now they can bring their objections all they like, but they can't answer for the objection that I present to them.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that Christianity is wrong versus Islam or versus Judaism or Hinduism that there's a Trinity. That it doesn't have to make sense, you know.
Well, it's more so. Again, the point is that their God versus our God. Which God is the God that logically exists due to what it necessarily takes to be God, a necessary being that is self-sufficient. If you have any contingency within you and of you, you are disqualified. And literally every God that is unipersonal or changes, so the Hindu God changes. They have a Trimurti, which is one unipersonal God that changes in different forms. That's contingency. Same thing with Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism is a unipersonal God. Any virtue that is relational is now making that God contingent because it requires creation in order to actualize that relational attribute or virtue. But the Christian God is the only God that is non-effective of, because he's a Trinity. Three distinct persons of one state of existence, one essence. So these virtues and these relational attributes are shared amongst the persons, and the persons are intrinsic to one another. They are not external to one another.
All right.
So that is why the Christian God is the only God that can logically exist.
I want to say logically exists.
That's literally what we've.
The argument. It sounds good.
We've
the way you want it to exist.
We've logically deduced. We've literally logically deduced this.
But why can't I make up a God right now and say that my God exists? I can make up a Trinity.
Yeah, because if you make up a God, first off, you be borrowing from my worldview. That's first and foremost, and you haven't fleshed this said God out. Because if you quote unquote make up a God and you just describing my God, it's my God. That's silly.
I'll describe the things about God that you think is logical for the reason why he should exist, and everything else I'll change.
Everything? What do you talk?
I'll have them.
Then you're just describing my God.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever characteristics of the Christian God you believe makes him more logical than other gods, I'll keep those, and I'll change the story up a little bit. I can do that.
Then you just be describing my God and then lying on my God.
Not really.
Yes.
You're saying that you believe in your God because of his story. characteristics.
No. I believe in my God because he's the only God that could logically exist from a metaphysical standpoint. If you take all of the metaphysical standpoints, you're just describing my God and then lying on my God. It's called fan fiction.
2,000 years ago, these guys made up that God. He decided to run with it.
They didn't make it up.
They did make it up.
Again, prove that.
Prove otherwise.
Because the triune God exists longer than 2,000 years ago. The scriptures, the Tanakh describes the triune God, and it's older than 2,000 years ago.
Why did God present himself? Why did God present himself like in Israel?
He
That
did.
part of the world?
It's called- his name is Jesus Christ.
What about the Hindus in India that had Hinduism like 4,000 years ago?
What about him?
He presented himself then.
Well, first off, he does present himself, but when people pervert the truth of God, they end up with like that. But God for sure presented himself in real life, in real time, 2,000 years ago. His name was Jesus Christ, which is why that God following a religion is the biggest to ever exist, ever.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Why do we have so many different religions? Why is the majority Muslim?
Because if there's truth, like I'll say it again, because if there is truth, then there are those who will want to pervert said truth.
I don't think God would allow that. If God exists,
Who are you to say what God would and would not allow? You don't even believe in God. Like what?
But it's just I don't believe in it because of that. There's this variation across the world. Why is like India majority Hindu? Why is the Middle East majority Muslim? Like we should have
Because
variation.
if there is a thing called truth, there will be people or things that will pervert said truth.
But there's nothing being perverted because it's not.
If there is something called truth, then there's also a thing called lying.
Perversion of truth
Is a lie.
looking up at the sun and someone saying that the sun doesn't exist, or the fact that the
No,
people that say
no,
the earth is
the
flat.
perversion, no, the perversion of truth is looking up at the sun and saying that the sun is a god, which is what the Aztecs did.
Right, because they can explain it. That's why they called it a god.
Okay, that's called perverting the truth. Just like you deny the existence of a god, that's also called perverting the truth. Because without the existence of a god, you literally live your life borrowing from the worldview that has a God while denying the existence of a God. You can't have objective oughts and virtues and morals without a God. Yet you live a life as if that's the case. You live a presuppositional life, yet rejecting the very grounding that allows that presupposition. It's a self-defeating worldview.
Yeah.
Perverting the truth. It's the whole point.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We don't know if it's the truth. We don't know if it's the truth. Like I said, we don't have any concrete evidence.
Again, this is called self-defeating. If you have a worldview without objective truth, then you don't have a worldview with any truth. So you don't know anything under your worldview. You can't know anything at all under your worldview.
No, we could just make anything up, man. We could just put it in its place and say that's the cause and effect of everything. You know?
Under your worldview, yeah. Under your worldview, you can't know anything. You can't know who you are, how you are, what you are, how old you are.
You find things out, just like you said.
How do you find things out if there's no truth?
By continuing to research it.
Research what? Research what? There's no truth.
The reason why we have God is because we can explain things back then. The reason why the Aztecs believed that the sun was a god is because they didn't understand the sun.
How do you know that's true?
The same thing you're doing right now.
How do you know that? How do you know that's true if there's no truth under your worldview?
You're playing semantics.
No, I'm showing you the illogical incoherency of your worldview. You're borrowing from my worldview where you can. No, I'm not. That's what you said. How do you know? Again, you saying it's deceitful. You can't tell me why deceit is bad. You can't tell me what deceit is, and if it's true that that's deceit, what you're describing as deceit under your worldview, because you're borrowing from my worldview. Well, I can actually ground epistemology, and you're appropriating it for yours, yet denying the very source that grounds epistemology. It's a self-defeating worldview, bro. You got to do better.
You sound like one of those pastors, man, that say a lot of words, and
This is called a coping mechanism, sir.
Use it to like try to make it seem like it's real. I'm being straightforward.
You're just coping.
That there's a God, there's no irrefutable evidence.
Yeah, and I'm saying
So
under
that's-
your worldview,
That's what I'm saying.
and I'm saying under your worldview, you can't know anything because you reject the existence of God. You can't ground epistemology.
I can ground anything.
No, you can't.
That's all I need.
How do you ground how do you ground epistemology? I don't think you know what epistemology is.
To try to justify or make yourself believe that this God exists when there's no proof of it. You have 2 billion Muslims in the world. They're gonna fight against you to say that.
Yeah, buddy. When all you're saying is all you're doing is making more assertions. You're saying there's no proof, but you can't. I bet you right now you can't give. I bet you right now you can't give a syllogistic argument to say that to prove that there's no proof. I bet you right now you cannot give a syllogistic argument to prove that there's no proof of God.
I can't prove. That's like saying that like the Easter Bunny doesn't exist. I can't prove that it doesn't exist.
Yes, you can.
I can't give you that proof.
Yes, you
I'm pretty
can.
sure it does.
You can give a syllogistic argument to why the Easter Bunny doesn't exist.
No, I can't.
You can't. Sorry, I know you can't. I know you can't because you can't ground epistemology. But anybody that can ground epistemology can make a syllogistic argument of how the Easter Bunny doesn't actually exist.
Anyone can fool themselves into believing this exists.
All right, bud.
I mean,
Just wasting everybody's time, buddy. So, guys, 54 people. I'm gonna restart the live because apparently my live is lagging and it is cutting out and whatnot. So I'm gonna restart my computer and restart the live because I did end up leaving my computer on, so maybe that's why it's doing it. So please come back, come back to this live, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Cool. All right. See y'all soon. See y'all in 2 minutes. What up, YouTube? I'll be back in 2 minutes. Come back, okay? All right.